On this episode, we're going to be talking about facing your big fears to get to that next level of success.
Welcome to Thriving Launch with Louise Congdon and Kamala Chambers, this show for heart-centered entrepreneurs who want it all.
5 days a week, we bring you different segments to inspire you to live a life of freedom. We interview the leading experts in the field of business, health, and love. Be sure to check out Training Tuesdays, where we give you a clear action plan to grow your own business.
How would you like to be able to interview world-class experts, sit down and have chats with people like Jack Canfield, Marianne Williamson, Robert Kiyosaki, Tim Ferriss, you name it? Would you love to interview other people that you really admire and consider to be your heroes? Well, we've created a course for you that teaches you how to podcast, how to set it all up, and how to get going so that you can really have a successful show and you can do it properly. Over at thrivinglaunch.com, we have a podcasting course, and it's there for you, waiting for you to snatch it up. So head on over to thrivinglaunch.com and let me teach you how to podcast the right way. Hey, Thriving Launchers, real pleasure and honor to bring on Kimanzi Constable. He's somebody who's actually personally helped me get into Entrepreneur Magazine, Success Magazine, Huffington Post, and Inc. Magazine. He's a writer who's sold over 100,000 copies of his book. He writes for large publications like Entrepreneur Magazine, Success, Huffington Post, Ask Men, Business Insider, Time Magazine, Fox News, CBS, and NBC. He's someone who has had a lot of success and went from nothing to where he's at now. And today we bring on Kimanzi to talk about how to overcome fear and step up and get more success in your life. All right, Thriving Launchers, we're here with Kimanzi, somebody who's helped coach me and really has helped me get into major publications, has helped me overcome some fears around the next level of success and moving on up in the world, so to speak. So it's my pleasure to bring on Kimanzi. Hey, Kimanzi, are you ready to launch?
I was born ready.
So I love that. And you really are. You know, you're doing a lot of really fantastic things with coaching clients and writing for major publications, traveling the world. And one of the first things that comes up for me right now is, how did you kind of bridge the gap between where you used to be, delivering bread, to where you're at now? It's a very different world. And I know for me personally, there's a lot of fears that come up on that journey of taking the dive, of owning your own business, and then taking this dive and being a public figure.
Yeah, so for me, the journey started, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version of the story for most of your audience who doesn't know who I am. It started, I did have a vacation relief service for independent bread owners that I started at 19. It grew to be a very successful business that operated in 3 states and made $500,000 a year. But I was a young 19-year-old hothead who thought he knew everything about entrepreneurship, even though I knew nothing. And so I completely mismanaged the finances of the business, which meant that because I was always making all this money, but I was broke, I always had to be on the bread trucks. So it meant that for 12 years, I owned a job. And going throughout those 12 years, I had a lot of thoughts about, the way that workers were treated and the things that the average person had to do. And I'm like, I want to write a book about this someday. I want to talk about what the average everyday working person goes through. And so in 2011, I stumbled across some stories about self-publishing and how people are self-publishing books and doing well. And I thought, this is what I should do. I should self-publish a book about the everyday working man. And so that's what I did. I wrote this book in 2 months. It was things that I had been thinking about for 12 years. And I self-published a book called Tales of the Everyday Working Man and Woman. And when I put that book out there, I knew nothing about internet marketing, about email lists, about podcasts, about none of this. Like, I didn't touch computers at all. I was a regular blue-collar guy. So when I put this book out there, I thought that somehow people would magically see it on Amazon or the internet, whatever that meant, that people would see it on the internet and they would buy it. And of course, anybody who's listening to this knows if you don't have an audience, you're not going to sell any books. So I put that book out there. It sold like 5 copies in the first 6 months. And I was frustrated. And I thought this internet stuff was just like one big scam, was a bunch of scam artists. And so I let it sit for a little bit. And then I came back to it a few months later and I realized that, hey, the reason this is selling is because nobody knows it's there. And that's when I became a student of how do you build an audience? How do you build an email list? How do you get exposure? And I started going to work that year in 2012, Louise and Kamala. And that year I guest posted for 80 different blogs. I was a guest on over 80 podcasts. I was out there doing all kinds of SEO stuff. I was doing local stuff where I lived in Milwaukee at the time. And by the end of that year, I had sold 45,000 copies of my 2 books. And I had publishers beating down my door wanting to give me a book deal. And so come to 2013, I actually had a business. I was making $5,000 a month online. I felt pretty good in the prospects of it. So I was able to sell my bread business and get out of that and really focus on this internet stuff. And from there, it was just a matter of growing and scaling, taking what had worked, building my audience, continuing to build my audience, continue to build the products that I was offering and getting multiple streams of income. And throughout the next couple of years, the business just grew and grew. Come to 2015, mid 2014, I had done a lot of guest blogging up to that point, but I saw that guest blogging was kind of drying up. And I started thinking, why can't I write for some of the largest business publications? Why can't I write for Entrepreneur and Success and Inc. and Huffington Post and all these places? What's stopping me from doing it? And so without knowing anything about anything, I sent in a lot of cold pitches to these places. Some were rejected. Some of them, the editor said, hey, come back and do some work on this. And I did the work. And I started getting into some of these really big, prestigious publications in a time where nobody was really talking about it. And so once I got in there and I started contributing content, that's where like my audience exploded because I was being exposed to millions of people that read these publications. I was kind of one of the only people that was doing it at the time. And my audience, it grew in a 2-year span. It grew my email list from 3,000 people to over 40,000 people. It had given me exposure to companies and conferences that said, hey, we'd like to come for you to consult and speak. I was selling thousands of books because each of these places had a book widget, and it really exploded my business. And it grew. 2016 was going to be the year that it should have been like the crossover into whatever the next level is for my business. But that year ended up being like a loss. I took an L that year. It was a rough year and a lot of different circumstances that happened. Come 2017 now, and it's been an incredible year. I got to consult at Morgan Stanley in New York. I got a very prestigious consulting gig here. I'm calling you from Dublin, Ireland right now. This is country 2 of a 6-country tour here in Europe. I got gigs in Asia and in Africa and in Australia. A lot of good things are happening to my business, and it's bringing me to a level now that I have not been before, a level that involves more money, it involves bigger opportunities, it involves more mainstream places, and it brought on like a fear that I wasn't ready for. And I kept myself, why am I afraid of this next level? Why am I afraid of success? And it turns out when I started talking about this is not something that I just struggle with alone. I think a lot of people do struggle with this.
Absolutely. And it's so good that you're bringing this up because we all struggle with that fear. And once we're faced with going to the next level, I see a lot of people sabotaging themselves, stopping themselves before they get to that next level of success, or procrastinating or holding back. And I'd love to hear from you. Why do you think people do that? Why do you think we as entrepreneurs and artists and healers, why do we stop ourselves from going to that next level?
I think a part of us feels like maybe we don't deserve it. There's a little bit of imposter syndrome going on over there. Like we feel like, who are we to do this big, great, mighty thing? Who are we to have all these good things happen to us? So it's a little bit of not feeling like we deserve it. It's a little bit of imposter syndrome. Maybe we feel like we're not enough. I think there's kind of a few feelings that are floating around in our mind, or maybe it might be something from the past, something in the past that happened that convinces us that we don't deserve this. And you're right, it's a real struggle because it keeps people from taking those next steps. And there is a lot of self-sabotage here. I know for a fact I've done this to myself quite a few times. And so now I start to recognize the symptoms.
You know, one thing that I see happen that Dr. Mario Martinez that we interviewed talked about, he talked about how when you're in a tribe, the tribe will wound you to keep you in. And there are these 3 basic woundings that happen within a tribe to hold you within the tribe. And it's hard when we're surrounded by people who want us to stay the same. How do you find it affects you, like your community or your family, as you're out there and you're growing to bigger and bigger levels? How is it affecting the people around you? Do you find that people get uncomfortable with your success as you grow?
Definitely. I feel like I have a good core of people that are supportive, like my quote unquote mastermind that has always been supportive from day one. But a lot of family members, a lot of friends, I feel like don't understand it. They don't really understand it. And then the ones that do, yeah, it makes them uncomfortable. I've had friendships go away. I have family members stop talking to me because they know that they want more from their life. They know that they want to do different things, but either fear or self-limiting beliefs or other people have convinced them that they should not even try. And so when they see me coming in here and I'm doing a few cool things, it makes them uncomfortable. It makes them uncomfortable with where they're at. And so for them, the easiest solution is just to not deal with me.
You know, Kimanzi, you and I have had quite a few different conversations around our worth in the market, our value, how much we charge and how much we feel comfortable charging, and noticing other people. You know, everybody has kind of different perspectives and opinions on how much they should charge for something. And you and I have had conversations about people who are charging insane amounts for services, and then people who are charging, well, I guess on both ends of the spectrum, insane. People who are doing really, really low cost stuff, but the delivery and the experience is incredible and it's amazing, and they definitely should charge more, and they're staying broke because of it. And then there's the people that don't have something super amazing, but they've just figured out a way to package it and charge a lot for it. And for me, that kind of in this conversation, it's relevant because I know that as I was going through my process around self-worth and what my value is, and that step of fear, right? That taking a leap and being scared, but still doing it and raising my fees and charging fees that I was uncomfortable with. That seems to be a part of this conversation too, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. Louise knows more than anybody because we are good friends. And I was one of those people that had really low prices, and I was afraid to raise them because I was afraid nobody was going to pay them. And there was a lot of stuff going on that way. And when I 5 times my prices, some people did go away. But then surprisingly, some people paid for the new prices. And I remember like those first few sales, a lot higher prices. And I would ping Louise. I'm like, Louise, somebody actually bought this. Like somebody did it, a real person paid money for this. And it was a super exciting moment, but it was just confirmation. And I totally agree with what you're saying. And I think we do keep those lower prices. And I even think on the same vein, that's the whole reason why I'm such a huge fan, not to change subject, but that's why I'm such a huge fan of things like large publications and mainstream businesses. Because for the longest time, I was brought up in this internet marketing space, this online space, this influencer space, whatever you want to call it. And I would try to get business from different Facebook groups, and I would reach out to people through Messenger, and I would go to blogs and podcasts, and I was trying to reach the same audience that everybody else was reaching. And when I got past a little bit of this fear of success, I was able to see that, hey, you can write for the largest websites in the world. But not only that, I could take what I had learned in this internet marketing space and take it into mainstream, regular offline businesses, regular everyday businesses that I was afraid to approach. I was definitely afraid to approach these regular businesses, but it's shown me that there's a lot more opportunity, especially for those that are doing anything related to, if you're listening to Thrive and Launch, I'm guessing you're in this space. There's a huge opportunity to take your skills and take them to regular businesses that don't have these skills, that don't have this knowledge, and it's a lot bigger opportunity for you. And so I had to get over that fear of, well, will mainstream business even talk to me if I don't have some kind of certification or some college degree from some place and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of mindset stuff that I had to get over. But once I did get over that mindset stuff and I start approaching these businesses, I wouldn't be here in Dublin, Ireland today if I didn't get over that stuff.
I love how you're telling your story with us, because I think a thing that can happen is that we feel alone. We feel like we're the only ones doing this, or we're the only ones going through this struggle. One thing that I think is really important is looking at what we can do to reach out, to listen to other people, to hear where other people are in their journey. And I'd love to hear from you. What is something that you recommend that we could do every single day to break through our success, to go to the next level when we are up against our fear and not sure if we can actually do it, if we could actually go to that next level?
Kamala, too, one of the things that Kimanzi had just said, and it's something you've really helped me with, is this fear of, do I have the right credentials? Am I old enough? Am I experienced enough? And a lot of times those are also voices of fear just trying to cloud you from taking that next step, from raising your fees or setting up some kind of program where you're going to help people. And we come up with these voices in our head that say, well, I don't have this kind of degree, I don't have this experience, or I'm new, or I'm just opening up shop. And one of the things you really helped me with, Kamala, is you said, Luis, you have the skills, you have the experience, you don't need that degree. You've done that work, people have been satisfied. Now it's time for you to offer it on a bigger level. And I know that a lot of coaches, a lot of you guys who are listening, I wanted to share my story for a moment around that, because I, just like Kimanzi, used to tell myself this over and over. I had this story, I don't have enough degrees, I don't have enough accreditations. But yet here's Kimanzi working for some of the biggest businesses in the world and helping them on something very specific to them. And no, he doesn't have the degrees, but he has the experience and he has the backing behind him and the confidence. And some of that confidence you have to create yourself.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I'd love to go back to the question about something that we could do. And Luis, that's so great that you brought that up. I mean, I have a whole book full of certifications that I don't even use any of those certifications anymore, but I wanted to make sure that I was going to be the best, and those certifications, I learned stuff, but it only gets you so far. So Kimanzi, back to you. What would you say, some tips on how to move through that fear?
I would say definitely the things that have helped me are, and it's going to sound a little woo-woo, but definitely meditation, waking up every day, or even times throughout the day where I just close my eyes and I just meditate and I just process. That's definitely helped. It's helped to have a group of supportive people. I've had this group from the very beginning when I was in the bread days, and they've stuck with me all the way, and they're always honest and they're always there, and I can just call them and tell them something crazy and they'll listen and they'll be supportive. So having some sort of support, that's definitely been crucial. Studying, reading good books, watching videos, listening to great podcasts like this one, just helps me get past certain places in my mind, because if I hear a story on your podcast, or if I watch a video of somebody who is struggling with what I struggle with, and just to see them overcome, it's inspiring. And it's motivating, and it gives me fuel that it is possible in my life to see somebody else who has done it. So definitely filling my mind with good content, and then just doing it anyway, because at the end of the day, I have 3 children to support. I have myself to support. I have this business. I have things that I have responsibilities. At some point, I just got to say, you know what, screw it, and I got to do it anyways.
Screw it and do it.
Yeah.
I like it. That's a quotable.
That's great. That's funny.
Yeah, one thing that I just want to bring up here, because fear is one of those things that manifests in so many different ways. And we might not always identify that it's actually fear of success that's holding us back. So I just wanted to take a moment to talk about some of those ways that fear is manifesting. And it might be where we are self-sabotaging, or we're procrastinating, or if there's a project that this like on the brink, like Luis and I have had this project going for about 4 months that's like on the brink of being done, but I know we're both afraid of actually having it completed, because what if it doesn't succeed? What other ways does fear manifest?
It manifests maybe in other people and their opinions, what they say to you. That's definitely one way. It's that little voice in your head that when you're getting ready to do something, maybe like a task, like you're talking about with this, or something that you have coming up, it's that little voice in your head saying it's not going to work out how you think it's going to, or this is going to go wrong, or that's going to go wrong. it could be anger or frustration, and you can't really understand why. Why do you feel the way that you do? Fear, it comes at you in a lot of ways that you're definitely not expecting. And it could be even when you are doing the work and things are going decently and you start to do things that you normally wouldn't do. And it might be that fear of success that's making you self-sabotage yourself.
I really love the way you put that. Before we close, any last little gem that you want to throw in the pond?
Yeah, this is, we're in 2017. I think 2016 was a hard year for a lot of people, but it's a new year and it's a new opportunity to do all the things that maybe you have not done in the past or did not do last year. It's gone. It's over with now. We're in a new year and it's a new opportunity for you to do things that make you uncomfortable, but that are going to get you closer to your goals. If you're somebody who's a coach, a writer, a speaker, an author, an online funnel expert, a website design person, whatever, realize that there's this whole big wide world of opportunity that exists outside of the internet marketing online space. There's this whole big world of opportunity of regular businesses that could use what you have to offer. And that could literally take you around the world. If travel is something that appeals to you, your business could take you around the world and you could see and experience new things and you could have an amazing, amazing year. So don't limit your vision to just what you know and what you understand. Be willing to step outside of your comfort zone and see that there is a lot of opportunity that exists beyond what you know. It might be uncomfortable at first when you're trying to figure out, well, how do I make this a reality in my life? How do I incorporate this in what I'm doing? But you can figure it out, and there's definite teachers and there's definite content you can consume that will tell you how to do that. But just don't limit yourself. Don't stay in your comfort zone. Don't stay in what you know. Realize there's this big opportunity, and this could be your year to do some amazing things.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to have Kimanzi. Hey, Thriving Launchers, if you've been enjoying today's show, make sure to go over to Thriving Launch because we've got some goodies for you with Kimanzi. He's somebody that I've personally hired to help me get into Entrepreneur Magazine, Inc. Magazine, Huffington Post, and a variety of other major publications. And because of him, I've had luck and success doing that, and he's made it so much easier to take that big leap. So we'll see you over there on the website. Thank you so much, Kimanzi, for joining us today on Thriving Launch.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to the Thriving Launch podcast. For books and resources related to today's episode, make sure to head over to thrivinglaunch.com. We'll see you there.
Hey, if you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure to tune into our next episode where we're going to be talking more in depth about how to make money from Facebook without spending a penny. No money needed, no ads needed, nothing complicated needed, just posting on Facebook. I'm going to teach you how to leverage the power of Facebook organically and show you how I've made sales of up to $10,000, $3,000, $4,000 and higher, and have garnered the attention of a lot of very well-known people by using Facebook organically. So make sure to tune into that. And also, if you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe to the show so you get all the stuff sent to you as soon as it comes out.